So you're ready to start homesteading, but where do you even begin? One of the biggest mistakes that beginners make is starting way too big and going way too fast. Today, I'm sharing how you can set realistic goals so you don't get overwhelmed and don't burn out on your homesteading journey. Hi, I'm Becky, and I help busy moms just like yourself start their dream homestead without getting overwhelmed or burnt out. If this is your kind of vibe, hit that follow button so you don't miss out any of my other videos, but let's get into it. So step one is always going to be start with your why. Why do you want to homestead? Is it because you don't want to be relying on the grocery store anymore? Is it because you're tired of the food prices or all the preservatives and the chemicals that they're putting into your food and you don't want to be feeding your family those kinds of things anymore? Is it because you want to be closer to the land, or just simply because you're tired of living the same mundane life that you've been living and you're ready for something new? You've been seeing people talk about this homestead thing, and whether it's trending or not, you're curious. You want to get into it. Knowing your why will shape your whole journey and will really help shape your goals for your first year. Me personally, I've always dreamt of living off the land. I was never able to when I was growing up. I lived in apartments and small areas throughout town. And then when I was old enough to move out on my own, I got an apartment and I love cooking. So I've always been a big baker. I was afraid to can at first. I won't lie, because there was so much information and I had no one to teach me. But with a go-getter attitude and just one book at a time, one page at a time, I was able to start learning all of these things and fell in love with this lifestyle. And I was finally able to get the property that I wanted. And I was able to start stretching out some of these aspects to homesteading that I've been talking about. Like I said, it's kind of like an umbrella. There are so many different areas of homesteading, and if property is not in your goal mindset, that's completely fine. You can still homestead from an apartment. You can still homestead from a condo or a suburban house. It's all going to be dependent on your goal and what kinds of things you want to accomplish. Do you want to just start baking from scratch a little bit more? Are you wanting to raise your own livestock? Do you want to have a garden? Maybe have everything in a sunny windowsill? It really is dependent on you, and every journey is going to look a little bit different. And that's the most beautiful thing about homesteading, is that it caters to you and your lifestyle and your family's needs. Not every single person is going to want a full in-ground garden. Not every single person is going to want to own pigs. Actually, a lot of people don't want to own pigs, and that's completely fine. That's the best part about homesteading, is that it's up to you. You can dive in as much as you want or just dip a toe in, but every little bit that you learn will be beneficial to you, I promise. Okay, number two is going to be assessing your resources. What do you have to work with? Do you have land already? Do you live in an apartment? Maybe you live in a camper. Maybe you have a house in the suburbs. It's all about working with what you have. And like I said, you can still homestead. You can still start, but you have to work with what you have. So if you live in an apartment and you want to grow some of your own medicinal herbs, you don't want to get a bunch of stuff from the pharmacy anymore. You don't want to take whatever the doctor is trying to give you, or Tylenol, or ibuprofen. That's great. That's good for you. You have a lot of learning ahead. Get some books. Use that sunny windowsill to your advantage. Start researching some vertical gardening techniques or container gardening. Maybe you want to substitute with artificial light and take up a whole room in your apartment. There are ways that you can still work with what you have without having to have land. Just keep in mind when it comes to like laws and regulations, when you want to get like livestock, maybe you have a backyard in a suburban neighborhoods, you probably can't have roosters. You might be allowed 3 to 6 chickens. Every county, every town is going to be a little bit different. It's up to you to look up those laws and regulations so you don't get ticketed for it, because there are some wacky ones out there. So make sure you do your research, because we don't want anyone getting in trouble. And remember that there are a lot of different things that you can get into, rainwater collection, vermiculture, composting, fermentation. You can start canning. A lot of these things don't take a lot of space to start homesteading. So it's completely okay if you don't have acres of land or if you don't even have a backyard, but it's assessing your resources and using what you have and using it to your advantage to fit your lifestyle. Step 3 is going to be choosing your priority. So what is going to be the most important to you? Is it growing those herbs? Maybe you want to grow your first tomato plant or pepper plant. You want to start growing some lettuce. Maybe gardening isn't really your vibe and you just really want to start canning. You can still start canning without having a garden. You can go to Walmart, for goodness sakes. You can go to your local farmers and buy their produce. You can go to farmers markets. A lot of people have homestead stands now. Really depends on your location. Buying in bulk, you get really good prices, and you can still start learning to can. Even in an apartment, you can still can. They might have some rules about pressure canning, but there are still things that you can do. Water bath canning, and a lot of rebel canners do everything water bath canning. That's really going to be up to you. Do your own research, decide what's going to work best for you. And they do also have those outside burners that you can hook up to propane, so you're not inside if the thought of a pressure canner kind of scares you. Or maybe you have like a glass stovetop. That's not recommended for pressure canners, I believe. I don't have one of those. I have an old school stove, so I'm not positive. But research is going to be your best friend. Maybe you want to have your own farm fresh eggs. So chickens are at the top of your list. You know, you have a small backyard and someone's going to build you a coop, or you have enough money saved up that you're going to buy one and you want to have 3 to 5 chickens. That's fabulous. Do your research, figure out how to take care of chickens, what they need, how you're going to feed them. Can you afford the feed? Maybe you want to have a compost pile, whether it's in ground or in a barrel, one of those turn barrel ones. You can buy them on Amazon for like $50, or maybe you want to do vermiculture. Like I said, that one's super easy. All you need is space for a tote in your apartment or corner of your house or whatever that's temperature controlled. Super easy to do. And also a fun little science experiment. If you have kids, they'll probably rather enjoy that. Vermiculture is worm composting, by the way, if you didn't know that. I honestly have one. I started it out as just here, let's try this. And then I actually still have it. I still feed them every week, and it's actually been quite the fun journey. Step 4 is the plan for learning, not perfection, because there's always going to be a learning curve, especially when you're learning so much. There's going to be trial and error, and just to expect there to be mistakes and things that don't go your way, and it's okay. Even homesteaders that have been doing this for 30 years still fail. They still make errors. It's just part of the process. And remember that this is a journey. It's not a race. There's no finish line. And every time you fail is just one more way you know not how not to do it now, right? And just to move on to the next. Step 5 is going to be writing it down to track your progress. I recommend journals, planners, even like a basic notebook that you get from the Dollar Tree, just so you can look back, especially when things don't work out the way you want them to, or you fail. You can look back and be like, why didn't that work? I don't remember. You can go back and be like, that's why. Okay, I'm going to try it this way instead this year. Make sure you're always celebrating the small wins. The small wins is a congratulatory for you. You're showing up for yourself, showing up for your family and your homestead, and no win is small enough that you shouldn't be like, man, good job, bitch. Like, you did this. Like, that's great. Don't ever sell yourself short because you think that you could have done more, you could have done better, because you showed up to begin with. And that is enough that you should celebrate it all on its own. Another quick pro tip when you are getting ready to set up goals is make sure that you are holding yourself accountable to them. Otherwise, there's no way for you to really track your progress. So you want to have them be measurable. You know, so for instance, maybe you want to grow tomatoes this year. Like this year, you want to master growing tomatoes. Okay, so you could simply have it be like, I want to grow tomatoes and I want to harvest 20 or something, you know, and every goal is going to be different depending on your situation, where you're growing, and how much of a beginner you are in the area that you're doing this. You know, maybe you already have a little bit of experience and you're like, okay, I want to can 20 jars of tomato sauce. That way your goals are measurable, and not saying that we've already talked about how failure is kind of part of the process, but I want you to be able to move forward. Yes, every small win is important, but if you don't reach your goals, it's okay, but you also need to know what you can do better the next time. You don't want to be stuck doing the same thing year after year and not really going anywhere because you're not holding yourself accountable. Realistic homesteading goals. Let's recap a little bit. So what is your why? Why are you wanting to homestead? Then your next is going to be assessing your resources. What do you have around you that you can set a goal for? I mean, it'd be really hard to say I want to have 5 chickens by the end of the year when you don't have a backyard and you only have an apartment. I don't think your manager would be very happy about that, right? Number 3 is making sure you're setting priority goals. Make sure it's something that lines up with your lifestyle and things that would be beneficial for you. Make sure you're planning for learning and not perfection, especially when you're starting out. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. That's definitely a really easy way to get overwhelmed. Say you don't even have a chicken coop and you're like, I'm going to have 20 chickens and start selling eggs and I'm going to make enough money to pay my mortgage. Okay. Don't get all crazy. We're talking about realistic goals. So perhaps, maybe you can start learning how to incubate your own chickens so you're not buying them from the store. Maybe you want to buy them from the store. So make sure you're budgeting accordingly. And your goal could be to not spend more than $50 this year on new birds. Like it could be as simple as that. And then make sure you're writing down your progress, whether it's in a notebook or a little journal on your phone, and make sure you're holding yourself accountable to your goals, but within reason. Celebrating all those small wins really is important. And as always, thank you guys all for showing up, not only for me, but for yourself. You sitting here watching these videos, it tells me you really want to learn about homesteading and that you want to be good at it. And you're taking the right first steps by just investing in yourself, making sure that you have the right mindset. Remember to hit that like button if this is your vibe and to follow me for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.